Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Lam here. Today is the weekend, or it's just starting the weekend, and I'm going to be taking out the gimbal for a little bit of a test ride for just vlogging purposes, just to see how well it actually handles. So right now, I have it on the X-T3. I have the 10-24 on because it's got a nice wide angle, so I don't have to reach out super far like this in order to actually be, comfortable with all this weight, because it is still quite a bit of weight that I have to actually handle with this, but at this distance, it's actually very comfortable, at least mostly comfortable, to be able to hold for an extended period of time. So I'm going to be trying it for the next couple of days and just vlogging with it just to see how well it feels just to work with the gimbal itself. It's definitely lighter than the Ronin S, so that's something that I can look forward to. So it's the next morning on the weekend. I have half of a day to really go out there and kind of play with the gimbal with the X-T3. I still have the 10-24 on there. I'm really going to try a few different shots out in the open landscape and really try to get a feel for it. I'll try to turn off the lens optical image stabilization for a couple of panning shots and a couple of trunk shots. But overall, it's really just to get a feel for how I like the gimbal system with the camera system and whether or not I'm going to find it useful. So I'm out at the U of L campus right now, just trying out this gimbal. And one of the things that I do want to talk about real quickly is whether or not I would actually ever use this gimbal system for just everyday vlogging. And I absolutely do see benefits of using a gimbal for my vlogging needs because, I mean, it's really helpful to stabilize the image. I think it is actually a great tool. It is kind of heavy, but the reason why I wouldn't use it is because it's just too cumbersome. Now, what I will say about these gimbals is that if you actually had a cameraman that could actually man this for you and would make all of the adjustments, ensure that the gimbal is actually okay and good to go all of the time, then by far, definitely, I would use a gimbal all of the time because the benefits would definitely be worth it. In fact, when I go to big events, you'll always see these big YouTubers use these gimbals, but almost all of the time, you're going to see somebody else manning the gimbals. It's not going to be the actual talent or the person on screen talking with the gimbals and holding the gimbal, because it does get heavy after a while, and then when it gets a little too heavy, you're really not going to want to carry it around with you. So that's something that you definitely have to think about. Now, throughout this entire vlog, I've actually had image stabilization off. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on just to see what it looks like when both the lens stabilization is on and also the gimbal is working. We're really just trying to flesh out whether or not that's going to be an issue or not, and then we're going to try to see if we can capture some of that on videos. Now, one thing that I will say though is that when you're walking around, you have two hands on the gimbal. It's actually pretty easy to walk with a gimbal, and it really doesn't weigh you down because it's still fairly light, and with two hands on, really doesn't feel that bad as long as you can keep it close to your body. All right, so I spent a couple of hours playing with the gimbal, trying to do all sorts of shots, and there's a couple of things that I do want to report on it. Number one, it's really easy to use, seems to be very comfortable on a monopod or me carrying it. It is still heavy though, so you will get tired carrying this around. One thing I will say though is the USB cable going into the camera to help charge the X-T3 really doesn't help all that much if you're going to be continuous shooting. It does extend the battery life just a little bit, but it doesn't extend it to the point where you can shoot all day with it. So that's still a problem, especially since you really can't change the battery on the X-T3 without having to take it off of the gimbal itself and then putting a new one. It's not too cumbersome because you can keep the plate on there and you can change out the battery, but on the X-T30 you won't be able to do that. You're going to have to actually remove the quick release plate and then take out the battery. So you definitely want a camera cage around the X-T30 if you're going to be shooting all day with it, because if you're just going to have the camera body itself, it's going to block the actual battery compartment we actually put on the quick release plate, which is not a good thing. So those are some things to have to think about. I do like the system, but like I said before, for any sort of solo work, I would not recommend the gimbal because it's just too cumbersome to carry around. It does have a lot of benefits, it's just that it's really hard to work with as a single person. So that's all I have to say. It's time to get back into the office.